What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the spot where we kick back and react to all kind of different things. Alright, so what we got going on today? We're about to get into a science video. We're back with Kyle Hill. This one is how dead space solves the Fermi paradox. Interesting. Alright, well, let's go ahead and jump into this. Love it when they use science, use gaming to get into science. It's always awesome. Alright, so let's go ahead. Let's do it. Let's go.
Where is everyone? And no, I don't mean all of you humans back there on that increasingly hot blue marble. I mean, where are all the aliens? In a universe this vast, surely there must be other forms of life that are as depressed to be meat as we are, right? Well, if one of my favorite sci-fi video games is correct, aliens are indeed out there. We're just never gonna meet them because, well, they're already dead. Ooh.
It's a spooky.
Scary.
Now entering the facility.
A lower estimate on the number of stars in this galaxy is 100 billion. A lower estimate on the number of galaxies in this universe is another sweet 100 billion. A lower estimate for the number of planets around each star in the universe is at least 1. This gives us an enormous figure, so that even if the chance of life arising in the universe is like winning a megabucks jackpot Powerball lottery thing, it still means that there are 100 million planets out there with alien life on it. So I ask you again, where's everyone? This discrepancy that we are highlighting is known as the Fermi paradox, named after Chad estimator and famous Italian physicist Enrico Fermi. Now, there are many potential solutions to this paradox, from the fact that we may indeed be alone in the universe, or that civilizations just tend to wipe themselves out before they can reach out to other civilizations. Today, we're going to focus on a different solution.
That is an interesting thing to think about. It's like the whole wiping yourselves out thing. It feels more plausible when you know that we look back and find civilizations that have been lost, and it was so long ago that we have no idea what they were doing and what remnants we found. It's like a puzzle trying to figure it out. That's how far back it was. So yeah, definitely a civilization that undid themselves. But the problem with that is they didn't go extinct. Like the species didn't go extinct. We as humans are still around. We were around to discover what other humans did, whether we understand what they were doing or not. So I feel like that's a hole there. But at the same time, maybe the fact that we tend to reset ourselves, if it's a thing that happens throughout the universe, that's what keeps every species from getting to the point where they can reach out to each other. Interesting thing to think about there.
Offered by one of my favorite video games ever, Dead Space. Its solution is that space seems dead out there because it literally is dead. Ooh, isn't that spooky, Arya? Arya, isn't that spooky?
Spooky.
Oh, to the moon. What we don't find out until Dead Space 3 is that the so-called necromorphs aren't the end of that ghoulish life cycle. No, these eldritch horrors are brethren or brother moons. Literally giant tentacle monsters that float through space and they're the size of the moon. Their life cycle goes something like this. First, they start sending out electromagnetic waves that make any intelligent life in the area go totally cray-cray and build so-called markers. Now, these markers also send out electromagnetic radiation to animate any dead flesh in the area, somehow. Then that dead flesh goes on to kill other stuff to make enough dead flesh. Once there's enough dead flesh, it is all flung up into the upper atmosphere somehow, where it congeals somehow into a giant tentacled moon that then eats the rest of the planet's biomass and continues the cycle anew. This is Dead Space solution to the Fermi paradox. Space seems dead because these brother moons are floating around everywhere, gobbling up everything. Now, I gotta admit, brother moons are some of my favorite creature creations in sci-fi, but it all got me thinking. Is there actually enough biomass on Earth to make a moon-sized meat thing out of? Winston, calm down. Clean your tentacles last Tuesday. You know what day it is. It's not Tuesday. That's why I named it that. It's not Tentacle Tuesday. You know what it is. In the vacuum of space, outside of any other large, dominating gravitational influence like Yo Mama, anything with mass will pull on anything else. with mass and eventually come together. So if you had enough dead flesh in space after a convergence event from the necromorphs, it would start to accumulate in a sort of gross meat moon kind of thing, and if you had enough of this dead flesh, you could even have it differentiate like a planet with a molten, bubbly, gross flesh core. Yeah. Thanks for that, Randall Munro of XKCD. So, to evaluate today's proposed solution to the Fermi paradox, what we're going to do is see how big a meat moon would be if it consumed all biomass on Earth, and then compare that to other known moons and the game. And thankfully, the calculations are actually super simple for this.
Easy for you.
No, Aria, anyone can do them. With the power of mathematics, you can go, hey, Winston, grab a calculator, I'll lead you through it. Dang. So, how do we go about estimating the mass and size of a brother moon? First, we need to know how much biomass is on Earth. Scientists have been estimating these values for a long time, and estimates vary across studies. But generally, in terms of the distribution of carbon in everything from viruses to your butt, all the animals on Earth represent actually a tiny, tiny fraction of the total biomass. There is more weight in all the other kingdoms, like protists and archaea and fungi. Bacteria outweigh every animal on Earth 50 times over, and the vast majority of carbon on Earth is in plants. The latest studies calculate that all of this living stuff weighs around 1.2 teratons. Now, we're going to do this back of the envelope and assume that all Earth goop has roughly the same density. How about water? We can then divide Earth's total biomass by this density to get the potential total volume of a dead meat marble with tentacles. Doing so, the maximum volume that a brother moon from dead space could get from Earth is over 1,000 cubic kilometers. That sounds like a lot, right? Well, if you have enough mass in space, it will act to spherify itself via gravity. Therefore, a meat moon with sufficient mass would have a volume equal to the volume of a sphere, 4/3 pi r cubed. Now, as the astute among you will notice, that means that if we plug in our volume value and solve for r here, we will get the radius of this eldritch monstrosity, and then we can compare that radius to other known moons and to the game. So, do that. Go ahead. Feel free to pause the video now. I'll wait here, or I'll lead you through it in just a couple seconds. Winston, just
ain't nobody pausing. Hurry up.
Smack a tentacle onto a calculator, and it'll stick there. And the answer is a moon with a radius over 6 kilometers long. Now, that sounds huge. Anything overhead in a sphere like that would be really, really disturbing. But is it like moon-sized disturbing? Well, comparing it to the radius of Earth's moon has a radius 260 times larger, meaning that if all life on Earth was spherified into a civilization-extinguishing meat orb of doom, and gross meat, remember, it wouldn't be any larger or any more imposing than any other moon in the solar system that you could probably name. Now, Winston, I know what you're thinking. Don't get tentacle envy, my man. There are dozens of really tiny moons in our solar system around our gas giants. So some of those are only like 1 kilometer across, meaning that a meat moon made out of all life on Earth would still be a moon. You're welcome. Given that Dead Space's proposed solution to the Fermi paradox actually does result in a mini moon's worth of mass, the next question is, how realistic is a brother moon as a creature? Well, interestingly enough, one proposed solution to the Fermi paradox is kind of similar to Dead Space in this regard. It says that we're not finding any aliens because we're not looking at where they actually lived or died. For decades, scientists and sci-fi authors alike have imagined what life unlike anything we know might look like. One popular conception is life among the atmospheres of gas giants like Jupiter and Saturn. Imagine an entire ecosystem with aerial plankton grazed on by sky whales who are preyed upon in turn by flying sharks. Now, it sounds like a fanciful thing that some scientists on the ganja would think of, but None other than Carl Sagan was writing scientific papers on this in the 1970s, calculating the lives of what he called sinkers and floaters in the high atmospheres of Jupiter. Now, I don't think the jump from an organism like this to a brother moon in dead space, in the vacuum of space, is all that crazy. Imagine a creature in the high atmosphere of some gas giant, evolving to resist low pressures and high radiation environments for millions or perhaps billions of years. Eventually, like the transition that happened from water to land on Earth, these creatures cast off into the void, using internally generated gases to propel them and sensory organs to hone in on other worlds' magnetospheres for air, food, and water. These beings could exist in a state of suspended animation, like we know tardigrades on Earth can achieve, perhaps conserving metabolism and resisting cosmic radiation for tens of thousands of years while they move through the void looking for a new planet to feed on. It's certainly not the craziest idea I've ever heard in sci-fi. Think about it. If beings like this exist, then it seems like there's no one out there because we're only looking for signals from planets and stars. We wouldn't hear a thing. And we'd never get to hear from the dead planets that they fed on either. It's kind of a scary, fun idea, huh? Kind of like the game that came up with it. Until next time. Winston, you don't have to keep thanking me. It's not even Tuesday. You're welcome, though. Bye.
Now exiting the facility.
Thank you so much to the very nerdy staff at the facility for their direct and substantial support in the creation of this here video. If you want to join the facility, if you want to drape on a silky white lab coat, if you want to get members only access to...
All right, that's just a sign off. All right, so yeah, that was a good one. Interesting stuff to think about though. Like, I don't know, I've seen plenty of videos on it, and I do believe there's life out there, and I believe that we're never going to make contact. And the reason is because it's like the scientists have already measured it out. They've already reported that the closest planet that's Earth-like that could sustain life on it is like what, 100,000 light years away or something like that. That's traveling at light speed. So if we haven't developed the technology to do that, or to go faster than light speed in order to cut down that time, it's like, what are the odds that somebody else did? And then on top of that, as huge as this universe is, even if another life form did, what would make them come here specifically? You know? Could it happen one day? Who knows? You never know what might be invented or what might come after. But as far as we are right now, if light speed is truly the fastest that you can go, and there's no way to go faster than that, then yeah, nothing is meeting anything else. Unless it's a life form that, like he said, can survive for thousands of years in suspended animation. That'd be the only way it'd be possible. Even then, would you want to though? Would you want to be in suspended animation, jumping planets just to see them for even, you know, not even on some destroying the planet stuff like Dead Space, but just to visit places? Would you really want to? You never know where you'd end up. I don't know if I would have want to, you know? Anyway, interesting stuff to think about. Love the video. So you guys know what to do. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what y'all thought about this one. And let me know if you'd like to see me react to next. Hit that like button before you go. Share this video with everyone you know. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. Alright, so till next time, take care of yourselves. And I'm out of here.